Planet, Sunday.
Welcome back. After days of explosive allegations, the government is advancing its plan to stamp out corruption at the CFMEU, or at least try. Announcing the union will be placed in the control of an independent administrator, but confirming that it won't be deregistered. Joining us to discuss today's headlines is Independent MP Zoe Daniel in Melbourne and Labor MP Dan Ripicoli in Cessnock in New South Wales. We'll get onto the origin in a moment, Dan. Just at ease. But let's start with the CFMEU. Zoe, more allegations are still coming in. Is the government doing enough to respond to all these allegations?
Well, I think the bigger question, Karl, is why has it taken so long? I mean, anyone who had any sort of weather eye on what was going on in the CFMEU wouldn't have been particularly surprised, much as these latest revelations are pretty explosive. But this stuff's been kind of percolating around and indeed in the financial review for 12 months in various forms. So, look, the media's done its work here and that's good. But
so what should happen?
Really, I think that it's just simply given the government an excuse to move.
Go on.
They've sort of started to move by asking the Fair Work Commission to action this, to appoint an administrator. My read of that is that that's a way of keeping the federal government at arm's length from this, but it could blow back on the government if the Commission doesn't act forcefully enough. So I do think it's a big test for Labor, because this will not pass the pub test. People will be really unimpressed with this, particularly in Victoria, where the CFMEU has a stranglehold on building projects and has for a long time, and the state's up to its neck in debt, and a lot of these projects are stalled.
Yeah, there's a lot of questions. Dan, donations to your party from potentially illegal activity and standover tactics is a massive problem, is it not?
Look, Karl, the number one priority for any union is to look after its members. And unfortunately, the CFMEU, the construction division of the Victorian branch there, they have definitely not done that. And there needs to be consequences for that. And the Fair Work Commission will come in and do that. But unions here in the Hunter, I'm a member of the mighty Mining and Energy Union, and they save lives here. If we didn't have unions like the Mining and Energy Union in the Hunter, we would have deaths on mine sites, and we can't have deaths on any work site in Australia.
I know.
It's just not on.
I think they do a great job.
Unions do great work as well.
Of course, but the CFMEU is not one of them. It's such serious allegations. I mean, were you surprised in any way, shape or form that it's come to this?
Look, the fantastic journalism from your network and Fairfax has really brought this out, and I congratulate the media outlets for doing this and bringing this to light, because this sort of behaviour should be brought to light, and it should be made sure that people know that this is unacceptable and this should never happen in any industry. So
it should be deregistered,
right? The Fair Work
Commission
will come in. The Fair Work Commission will come in, they will do their job, they will see what needs to be done there, and then the right actions will be taken. If there's been criminal activity, then the right authorities will be brought in, and then we will see where it ends up.
OK. Zoe, do you think that should be deregistered, the CFMEU?
Look, it's an option. I think the risk, though, as you know, Karl, is that previously, back in the day when the BLF was deregistered, it simply resprouted in another form, and here we are with the CFMEU. So really, we've got to get to the root of this. It's got to be cleaned out. And I agree with Dan, unions protect workers, great. But at the same time, they can't be using intimidation and all sorts of allegedly criminal tactics to lock companies and businesses out of work sites and to flex muscle. Simply inappropriate, not okay. And I think the vast majority of Australians will think that that is wrong.
I feel like the Victorian Premier still has some questions to answer as well. We'll see what happens. Dan, you're saying, a couple of quick ones if we can, get through them. Dan, you are saying Aussie farmers could be forced to test all food at an unknown cost if the plan is enacted following the lead of the US regulators. Dad, in the US districts are actually bidding for nuclear plants because they attract heavy industry and real jobs. There aren't many jobs in solar.
We've got plans for the Liddell site here that will create thousands of jobs. the AGL and other companies have already came in and said they're going to go there. So for Peter Dutton to come forward and still say he wants a nuclear site at Liddell Power Station is just crazy. It's going to rip thousands of jobs straight out of the Hunter, right here in the Hunter. And then what else has came out around, there'll be 1,650 farmers within the 80-kilometre exclusion zone or fallout zone that will have to be putting forward to say that they have a nuclear reactor right next to them. And what's that going to do to the farming right here in the Hunter? Like the meat produce, the chicken, it's just going to absolutely destroy it. So I'm not against nuclear energy, right? And let me get that straight out there. What I'm against is the most expensive form of energy and the fact that it'll take 20 to 30 years to build. And that's not acceptable for people in the Hunter.
Twiggy Forrest has just announced that he's abandoning ambitious green hydrogen targets in the major business backdown. Zoe, it's not cheap.
No, it isn't. None of it's cheap, but it's a transition we have to make for the future of our environment and for the future of our kids. And indeed, Mr Forrest, I think, has said he's parking green hydrogen somewhat, so keeping a few projects, parking some others, to focus on solar and wind, because they are cost effective and that's where the investment money is going. So you can wait your 15 or 20 years for a nuclear power plant that is going to cost billions of dollars and incur massive cost blowouts based on what's happening in the US, or you can go for wind and solar now, get the energy into the system and get the jobs into the system. It's pretty pragmatic.
Dan's been waiting there very patiently, Zoe.
And Zoe's spot on with this. Zoe's spot on with this, Karl. She was spot on that, and also gas will help us too.
Dan, we've got to move on. I'm just going to give you 5 seconds to gloat.
Oh, what's this, Karl? What's this beautiful scarf I'm wearing? What a great game it was last night.
All right, thank you so much, mate.
Congratulations to the Blues. It's great to see you, Karl.
All right, thank you, guys. Appreciate it.